Okay, we're live. I think we're live. I think we're good. Let me just fix something real quick. Oh, okay. Hi everyone, Jerry here, the njeri.fraser, and welcome to another Wash Day Wednesday. Yay! Give it up for another Wednesday. Can't believe Christmas is next week. Can you believe it? Where did the year go? I mean, I feel like it was just Christmas the other day, and so much has happened in the year. But today's really not about we're not gonna dive into the whole year this year. But I think I want to do another live, just reflecting on the year. How was your 2025? Was your year good? Was it bad? Did you have goals you wanted to accomplish, or was it just one of those years where all you're trying to do is get by? And even if it's one of those years where all you just wanted to do was to get by and you didn't really think that you accomplished much, just the fact alone that you made it to the end of the year is amazing. It's great, and you should applaud yourself for that. So, this is me applauding you if you got through 2025. All right, but we'll talk about more about the year another time. Today, we're all gonna be talking about shedding, hair loss, and what inspired that topic for today's session. I actually washed my hair, was it a couple days ago? And when I washed it, I just saw all this hair just come out of my head. Like it wasn't like I was really in my hair or anything like that. It was just putting the water in my hair. And next thing I knew, I just saw long strands of hair in my bathtub. I was like, what the heck? What's going on? You know? And that was a bit stressful. Like, have any of you had that moment where you're washing your hair and you just see all this hair like come out of your hair? Or let's say you're styling your hair. Have you ever found that just a lot of hair is coming out and you are just like, how do I even still have hair on my head? Like some days I have to really wonder, like, how is there hair on my head? But hey, here we are. We still have some kind of hair on the head. So, yeah, clearly I'm not losing a whole bunch of hair, and neither are you. So, the whole point of today's session is to really talk about hair loss, what is really going on our head top when we lose so much hair. Because, after I was cleaning up the bathroom, I got kind of curious. I literally took up the strands of hair because I wanted to see what was going on. Like, was I losing hair from breakage or was I just losing hair straight from the scalp? And, I'm being weird and taking up the different little strands of hair that was in my bathroom. And then I realized it was a combination of, you had little short hairs. And when I assessed the short hairs, I could see that they kind of flared out like that. So clearly, I had some split ends, and I tried to give myself trims and whatever. But yeah, some were split ends. But I found a lot of like long hairs. Some were very thin, and some were pretty thick. Like I would take out the strand, and then it's like how our hair tends to coil. It's coily, but when you extend it, it is super super duper duper long, and you could see the little bulb at the end, the little white thing. If you've ever noticed some of your hair strands, you see a little white dot at the end of the hair strand. That is the bulb, right? And that indicates that it's coming straight from the scalp. And it's normal. That is normal. That is okay. So in today, we're just talking about shedding, the growth phases, how our hair is actually operating. Sorry. So to start off, we're going to talk about what are the four phases in shedding or just in hair growth. We have anagen, right? Then after anagen, we have catagen, then we have telogen, and then finally it is exogen. If anyone knows what each of the phases do, let me know in the comments. Maybe take a guess how each phase works. But there are four main phases when we are dealing with the hair cycle. right? So let's start from the very, very beginning. And I think the phase that most people really do care about most is the anagen phase. Now, what is the anagen phase? This phase is known as the growth phase, right? And in the growth phase, this can take, what's it, 2 to 7 years. It doesn't just happen overnight. Like, this is the longest phase of the growth cycle, okay? And with it happening for 2 to 7 years, basically at some point it has to go. So no matter how long somebody's hair is, at some point it has to go and it will go. So let's break it down mathematically, right? I have my little notes here so that I don't forget everything else I want to say. If our hair is growing from 2 to 7 years, and that's our anagen phase, but at the same time our hair is growing like zero point 0.5 inches, every month. If it's growing zero point 0.5 inches every month, that means on average it is what? 6 inches per year, right? But if your anagen phase is 2 to 7 years, that is like a super wide range, right? You're going from, was it 12 inches? Because if it's, 6 inches and 2 years and you have an anagen phase of 2 years, then your hair will only grow up to 12. Funny enough, many of us do have like 12 inches of hair on our head. So clearly, a lot of us are on the shorter end, if we're not maintaining it and if breakage is not the concern, that means it is 12 inches, right? But look at the positive. Look at the extreme end on the other side. Let's just say we can keep our hair in the anagen phase for 7 years, right? 7 years, that means your hair can grow up to 42 inches. Do you know how long 42 inches is? Like, 42 inches is crazy. And a lot of us are not reaching 42 inches for just numerous reasons. But that is the potential that we can reach when it comes to our hair growth, right? And a lot of us are on the journey of trying to grow our hair long. So many people want long hair, but truthfully, the most important thing is to have healthy hair. And we're going to get into, different ways to maintain scalp health and all of that. But disclaimer, I am no doctor, right? I am just a girl who has natural hair doing her best to just figure things out. And, because I was so curious about just even the hair cycle, I did some digging. But if you know you have some serious medical issues, please see a dermatologist. Let a dermatologist assess your hair. But regardless, you can still learn from these tips if you don't think you have major issues like that. So, cool, cool. All right. So back to the anagen phase. So if it is 2 to 7 years that we are in the anagen phase, then how can we maintain that, right? What can we do? But the, there are different times or different situations that can shorten the anagen phase, right? There's stress. Stress is something that can shorten the anagen phase. There is poor diet. And I'm going to talk about the different nutrients that is important for scalp health, hair growth, all of that. I'll get into that part later on. But we have stress, diet, genetics. Unfortunately, some of us are just not that blessed, and that's okay. That's okay. And that is why we shouldn't really obsess over the length of our hair per se. We really just need to make sure that we have healthy hair, right? So no point in having long hair if the rest of our hair is looking kind of, you know. So that is important. Aging is another thing that is just natural, and sometimes we just need to let nature take its course, right? Hormonal changes, especially in women, that is another big thing that can cause the reduction of the anagen phase. And in this situation, I mean, we just have to be patient with ourselves. I mean, a lot of women are going through postpartum, and I'm sure losing hair is not helping with the feeling. But ladies, let's just be gentle with ourselves. Let's be patient, and not just postpartum. Also, women have PCOS, and maybe your periods really just have your hormones all over the place. Be kind, be gentle with yourself as you go through the different cycles that your body is undergoing. And yeah, be careful. Medication can also affect and shorten the anaphase of your hair strands, right? So these are all of the different things that can impact your anagen phase. And if your anagen phase is shortened, then you're not going to be able to reach the maximum potential of your hair length, which is what? 42 inches. Because why? 6 inches per year, and we can go up to 7 years. So, our goal, if you really want to have long hair, we just really want to be able to maximize the length or of our anaphase, right? And that's what we can attempt to do. Now, are we all going to make it to 7 years per hair follicle? I don't know, man. You probably may not, but I'm sure you want to get to the longest point of your hair journey, right? So we have to do our best to make sure that the anagen phase can be lengthened as much as possible. Now, to pause on the anagen phase, let's just talk about shedding a little bit, because you see all these hairs just falling out of your scalp and you're like wondering what is going on. Every day we lose roughly 50 to 100 hairs on our head. Do you know that is a lot? And if you're somebody who does not wash your hair every single week, you are going to find that when you do wash your hair, you're just going to find all these hair strands. Let me break it down a little bit with some more math, right? If sorry, if we are losing 50 to 100 strands a day, that is how many strands a year? Can we take a guess? Can we guess? Can we do the math? That is 36,500 strands of hair that we are losing every single year. 36,500 strands. That is crazy. That is a lot of hair. That is a lot of hair. Like, no wonder we're always concerned when we see all this hair on the ground. 36,500 strands is a lot of hair. But guess what? We have more than 100,000 strands of hair on our head, and those are always growing at different rates. So, it's a bit concerning, yes, but it's nothing to be concerned about, because that is just the hair cycle. It is healthy, it is normal. Okay? So when you see all the hairs on the ground, especially when you see the bulb that is on the other end of the strand, don't stress about it too much. Like, I know it can be a little bit daunting, but your hair is doing what it is meant to do, which is to just complete the cycle of hair, the cycle of life of your hair strand. Okay? So let's just talk about the telophase, or actually, after the anagen phase, we have the catagen phase. Now, the catagen phase, this does not take place for a long period of time. This takes place for roughly 2 weeks. And in these 2 weeks, what is happening is your hair strand, it is slowly detaching from the blood vessels in your scalp, right? So it is just slowly doing that, and then it goes into the telogen phase. The telogen phase is basically your hair is just chilling, right? Your hair is not doing much. It's like, okay, I'm here, I'm waiting, doing absolutely nothing. And it's just going to do absolutely nothing for like 3 months or so. And that's okay. Now, these hairs are not going to be growing any longer. And maybe sometimes if you feel like your hair is not growing, maybe it really is just our hair chilling in the telogen phase, right? At different points when you want it to grow longer. Because once it hits telogen, that's it. That's the part of the cycle, is that once it hits the telogen phase, we've reached the max. It's not going anywhere. If anything, the only thing your hair strand can do at this point is get shorter. How is it getting shorter? Via breakage, heat damage, over manipulation. So your hair is just not going to grow anymore at that point. So this is why it really is important to try to maximize the anagen phase, because once you reach the telogen phase for your hair, that's basically it. You just have to like keep that until it's time to go. And that brings us to the exogen phase. Sorry. That brings us to the exogen phase, the final phase of the hair's life cycle, right? In this phase, it's time to say bye bye to the hair and say hello to the new hair strand. The new hair begins to grow underneath simultaneously as the old hair is being pushed out. And this is what happens when you are shedding. Your hair is in the exogen phase when you are losing all of these 50 to 100 strands on your hair, right? So that is the hair cycle. And that's always going to be happening. If you have any questions so far, if you're confused about anything, let me know in the comments below if you have any questions on the anagen phase, the catagen phase, the telogen phase, the exogen phase. It's very interesting when you really dig deep into the biology of what is going on our hair, because then you get a better understanding and you realize, okay, maybe I'm not too crazy, right? So like, it's okay that I am losing hair. It's supposed to happen, right? The only way to make space for the new is to get rid of the old. And that applies to everything in life, right? It's not just hair. You can't accept new things in your life if you are just too busy holding on to the old. And in this case, the old hair, right? So we are going to move on and talk a little bit about like nutrients, right? So as I mentioned earlier, the anagen phase is really that phase that we really want to maximize. So we really want to support our hair health from the inside and the outside. So nutrients, what are some of the nutrients that we really want to be able to, maximize, ensuring that our body is getting the right amounts of it? Protein, you really want to make sure you're getting your protein in. Like, I know the gym bros are always talking about protein, but hey, if you are a natural hair girly, you need your protein too, because what is your hair made of? Protein. So it is important to eat your protein. That is one. Two, we need iron, right? Iron is super important, especially as a woman. Now, iron is part of hemoglobin. It is going to help with carrying oxygen to the hair follicles. And not just the hair follicles, just your whole body, but it's important to have iron, because if you are low in iron, your hair is not going to get the right amount of oxygen being taken to the scalp, and that will just cause the scalp to just not be healthy, right? So it is really important to make sure that if you're not taking iron supplements, that you are eating an iron-rich diet, so your leafy greens, things like that, meat, all of that. If you do eat meat, it's important, right? So iron is super important. Biotin is helping with the hair structure. If you look at all the different supplements, they love to put biotin in that, so you make sure you're eating that. Zinc also helps to repair hair tissue, and like omega 3s helps to reduce inflammation and to maintain a healthy scalp. Uh, two vitamins, nutrients, whatever, that I did not know too much about. Like, I knew about it, but like didn't understand the importance of it. And one is B12. B12 helps with the blood flow. Okay, great. Gotta get our B12 up. But the one that surprised me so much is vitamin D. Did you know that vitamin D was important for your hair? I didn't. Did you know? I didn't, because I did not know that we experience even shedding when it comes to changing the seasons. That is something that is typical, in mammals. When mammals are hibernating, they will start to shed. But humans, we also shed when changing the seasons. Can you guess why? I'm going to tell you why. Because vitamin D is what we get from the sun, right? The sun gives us vitamin D. Vitamin D is very important for new follicle creation. And when we don't have enough vitamin D to support our follicles, then we're going to start shedding. Like, we can't catch a break. So, if you're in a place where you're not exposed to the sun, you're not getting your vitamin D, it is important to be taking vitamin D supplements, because that is what's supporting follicle creation. Like, I had no clue that the lack of sun was also affecting hair growth and hair shedding. So get your vitamin D up. That is also important. Does anyone have any questions so far? Let's pause a bit. Let me know. What are your issues? Like, what kind of issues are you having when it comes to hair loss and hair shedding? Like, do you have any specific conditions? Do you think you have a condition? I mean, a popular condition is alopecia, right? And with alopecia, I need to like break down the spelling or the pronunciation of this. Dihydrotestosterone, that is something that is in levels increase when you have alopecia, and that also minimizes like the number of follicles that are on the vertex of your head, and that's why you find lots of people have bald spots, things like that, when they have alopecia. It also miniaturizes the size of the follicle, so you find that the follicle is also pretty fine when you have alopecia. So these are also some, regular or common medical issues when you are suffering from hair loss. One that is something that can be prevented is traction alopecia. Now, traction alopecia, that is when you wear all the tight hairstyles, right? You're wearing the tight hairstyles, you're pulling on the follicle, and sometimes you find that you get little tiny bumps on your head, right? That is your follicle screaming, it is begging, please give me a break, loosen me up. It is tight. I am pulled. I am hurting. And we don't listen. And then we don't listen. Now, when you wear the tight braids, the tight cane rows, corn rows, the ponytails that are like pulling your head back, your follicles are literally screaming and begging for a break, for rest, for some kind of relief. And when you don't give the follicle the break that it needs, well, it's going to break. It is going to break. It is inflamed, it is scarred, and you find that what happens, and we're going to now loop it back to the growth cycle, right? It is so inflamed and scarred and damaged within that follicle that a new anagen phase cannot begin. And that is the beginning. That is the beginning of the growth cycle for our hair, the anagen cycle. So when we disrupt our follicle and we're not able to now begin the anagen cycle, forget about how long your hair can be if we support the health of our scalp. Your hair just will not grow. It will not grow. So if you don't want your hair to just not grow, you got to relax when it comes to like the tight hairstyles and the pulling of your hair, because you're now damaging your follicles and preventing any kind of growth from happening. New growth cannot take place. Now, another day I will, do my best to do more of a deep dive into the biology of all the different types of hair loss. But that's where I will leave it at for alopecia. But I just wanted to talk about shedding a little bit because it was something that just came up in the beginning, and I wanted to just share my findings with you all because I think it's important for us to really understand the biology of what is happening on our hair, because it is more than just, okay, is my hair growing today? Is it not? But you're stressed out, you're not eating properly, you're not sleeping properly, you're on medication, and you're wondering, why is my hair not growing? So I think when we do understand what is entailed when it comes to the growth of our hair, and when we really just take a step back to say, okay, what am I doing? Am I supporting the health of my hair? I mean, not just even the health of our hair. Let's take it another step back. Am I supporting the overall health of my body? Because truthfully, a lot of issues that we face, whether it is in our hair or skin or nails, everything is really just signals from the body. Like, our body is trying to communicate with us that, hey, something is going on, something is wrong. Because, for example, I mentioned that iron is good for carrying oxygen to our hair scalp. And then yes, so you're now stressed because your scalp is not getting enough oxygen, and then your hair is not growing. But think about all the different organs in your body that are not getting enough oxygen now because you have low iron, right? So our hair is just another way to just signal to us that, hey, something is going on, something is wrong, right? And sometimes we just have to listen to what is happening. Like length is important, but clearly there's so much more than just the length of our hair. Our hair is trying to help us out by saying, hey, check this, your oil light is on, right? Like we really just need to take the time to listen to our body. And I think when you take the time to listen to your body, whether it's like your hair, your skin, your eyes, everything will then start to operate as it should, as long as you're healthy, right? So your anagen phase will be as maximum as it can be. So if your hair is supposed to be 30 inches long, your hair will be 30 inches long as you're, of course, taking care of your hair, not overly manipulating it, because breakage is still a fight, right? Breakage over manipulation. Like there are so many levels to all of this that we still need to be thinking about simultaneously. Like, okay, I need to have a healthy diet, but I need to make sure I'm not overly manipulating my hair. And I need to not wear this hairstyle too many times so I don't get traction alopecia. Like, so many things to balance mentally. So, if you are doing your best to really take care of your hair, take care of your skin, your eyes, just your overall body, like, kudos. Kudos to you for doing your best, because man, living be hard, right? Like taking care of this body it is work. It is so much work. But you're doing it. We're all doing it, or we're all trying to do it at least. But this is what I have to share with you today when it comes to hair shedding, hair loss. If you learned something from this live or this video, if you were watching another day, let me know in the comments, what have you learned? Did you know about the hair cycle? Do you know about the different nutrients and how they play a part in ensuring that your hair is growing healthy and long? Let me know in the comments below if you like videos like this. Don't forget to leave a like and hit that subscribe button, because I talk about natural hair, beauty, self-care, and all that jazz. And we do wash day Wednesdays every single Wednesday. I try for 6:45 p.m. So if you like this video, don't forget to join me next week Wednesday for another wash day Wednesday. I'm not fully sure yet what I want to talk about next week. I have a whole list of things to talk about, but yeah, whether it's like shampooing, conditioning, oil treatments, protein treatments, all of the fun stuff that relates to how we maintain our hair, how we wash our hair, care for our hair. And hey, if you just want a little chit chat, let me know. We can always talk about other things, but leave a like, leave a comment, hit that subscribe button if you want to join my little family, my little community, as we're all just trying to take care of our hair together. So, thank you again for joining me on today's chat. Remember, self care is how we practice self love. Bye. Thank you for joining, and I'll see you next week, Wednesday.